Now, I was telling the truth when I said I was recording, and I was ready to record and everything, but, like, once you are the authority figure, I might have to treat you the way I do Austin. I can't promise that won't occur.
So you're gonna be like, you're gonna be TPing my house and yelling at old man Dan, like you do to Austin, and saying you don't understand us kids.
Not immediately. I think there'll be some novelty for a bit, and then it'll be like, oh no, teacher's here, gotta fucking egg your car.
I think kids are getting way crazier these days. I know in the last few years there were devious licks. I don't know if this made it over to across the pond.
Oh, was this the taking the lids off things in the shop and licking and putting the lid back on?
No, that was a different thing. This is stuff like stealing the tires off of your teacher's cars or entire toilets from bathrooms.
I mean, I just assumed at this point the kids were just using, like, AI deepfakes to be like, here's the teacher kissing a butt.
Well, they've actually, I saw a news article the last day or so that my wife sent me. They're photoshopping teachers they don't like into the Epstein files.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Which, yeah, I could 100%. See, I know exactly who would have done that back in high school. I remember we got admonished. Well, at one point my video class got accused of terrorism. For the morning show we did for doing a parody of Bear Grylls. Not even remotely on the scale of what I just described kids doing now. I do know somebody in my video class took one of the many fights that happened at my school and recut it into a music video and was forced to delete that footage.
Oh, God.
So, Laura, we're here today to talk about your new character for Season 13. I will first ask you the same question I've asked the other players thus far. On the scale of women's rights to women's wrongs, where does this character fall?
Oh, very women's wrongs. This is the women's wrongs end of the scale.
Yes, as we started discussing, characters and building them up, yours was, I think, the final one to like fully coalesce. And as things went along, I started realizing, I don't know how peacefully this party is going to be resolving things in a normal and positive manner.
Look, I usually am the person who ends up making the nice goody two-shoes character that keeps us on track and keeps us part of the story. And occasionally I just kind of want to play a little piece of shit. Sometimes I just want to play a real piece of trash, and I allowed myself to lean into my real piece of trash senses this time round.
Yeah, exactly. So you're unleashing the beast. Why don't you tell us a little bit about your character?
Well, I am going to be playing a pumpkin Goliath barbarian, simply called the Baron. Now, we've had many conversations about this. Land ownership, not really a thing in this setting, per se, at this point in time. Not a thing that people in this setting are really doing a lot of.
Yeah, I mean, it's sort of like squatters' rights. If you can't remove someone from it, they've kind of taken it, is the deal. Yeah,
well, where the Baron comes into this is, he's real good at making big old legalese and paperwork to make it look like he owns shit. He's all about having a paper trail to go, actually, that's mine. All of it's mine. I would like some ownership of all these things. I would like to be in charge of things and have paperwork that makes it hard for you to say that the place where you've lived forever is actually yours.
Yeah, and in saying that, I'm sure the audience is thinking, oh, is Laura playing, some sort of wizard using their intelligence to defeat their enemies? And I'm just gonna read the first stat on your sheet here, which is Strength 17. Your character is a barbarian.
Yeah, no, here's the thing. Look, he knows enough legalese bullshit to, like, to talk around in circles and get, make it seem like he owns stuff he needs to own. If that doesn't work, his fallback option is, I'm bigger than you and I will hit you if you argue with my paperwork.
Yes, which is, I imagine, partially how you're succeeding up to this point. And we've talked about how this is like a country that's starting to like come out of just being complete anarchic chaos into like something resembling a society. And you're trying to make the bulwarks to like and take advantage of this essentially through documentation, however real or forged it may be. Meanwhile, if for all the people that don't play ball with you, you are just fully willing to kill them.
Yeah, and to be fair, you did mention something there that is important to know. A lot of my paperwork is entirely forged. It is not legitimate. It is either, hey, look, you lot, like, haven't even considered paperwork, therefore you're not going to question something that looks official, or I'm going to trick you into signing something you shouldn't have, or just make it up. And as you say, no one... some of these people might turn around and go, yeah, but this place is mine, though. We don't do that. We don't do this whole paperwork thing here. I'm big enough that they're not going to say it.
Mm-hmm. And for those that do say it, you're confident in your ability to just kill them. And then when they're dead, now you have a piece of paper that says you own the place.
Yeah, and here's the thing. I'm a Goliath is my sort of like base thing. I'm big already. I'm in the big old classes. To talk about my specific kind of barbarian, I am a Path of the Giant barbarian. So my whole deal is, you think I'm big now, you get me angry, I get even bigger.
You become engorged. You're the biggest boy. Let's see, we're level 7, so you have Giant's Havoc, where you can start throwing things at people, or your reach increases, so you get you get even bulkier.
Look, if I think you're beneath me and I don't want to deal with you, I can literally throw my weapon at you for, like, ranged barbarian damage and recall it back to my hand within the same action to be like, I can do ranged hit. I can hit you with a great axe from across the room.
Now, what do you think that looks like? Are you like magically calling it back, or are you just hitting? Is it like bouncing a dodgeball off somebody's head? You've hurled your. Actually, what weapon are you envisioning this character using?
I like the idea of it being something like big and two-handed. Like I want it to be like a big great axe or something that I'm like really having to heft, because the vision I have for throwing this thing and having it come back to me is nothing magical. I just think flavor-wise, bunch of little minions run and grab it and run it back to me. I've got people for that.
Mm-hmm. Now, my suggestion would be, if in thinking of like what weapon this would be visually, right? Because like these are a lot of like farmer pumpkin people, and I think we've thought of you as sort of like a rich farm owner. We can dig into that a little bit more in a moment. But there's things like sickles and scythes and pitchforks and stuff like that. What about one of those like paper guillotines, but like a big one, the ones that they use in like offices to cut their paper to size?
Oh.
So you're mass making forgeries just with the just like a giant version of one of those slicers.
I do like that. Yeah.
Okay, I think that's a good detail there. So you're not entirely on your own, though. We've in the previous character discussions I've done, we've talked about how you're appointed to this position of being sort of like a pseudo diplomatic immunity. I can do what I want type licensed character. By someone of power in the setting, and that has been done by the Pumpkin King, hence the Baron to the King. And you're sort of like his enforcer. Yes, you're going out enacting his will, bringing things back to the wider group, the Midnight Harvest, and all the while, building your own, I guess, finery and material wealth, which I think is something that sets you apart from the other harvestkin we've depicted up to this point, who are like simple dirt boys who live outside. Whereas you have talked about your desire to play this character as being a little bit more upscale at the very least.
Yeah, like I think the Baron has ideas above his station. He's not necessarily that much fancier than the people around him, but he's got ambitions. He wants to believe that he is already in the upper class and that he's only going up from here. Um, you know, war and turmoil is as good as anything else when it comes to opportunities for wealth acquisition. Um, he's a wheeler and dealer. He's gonna take the cards that are out here and see what he can get out of it.
Have you been reviewing the Star Trek Ferengi rules of acquisition, where peace is good for business, war is good for business?
Yes, very much so. And I think this is very much like his relationship to the Pumpkin King is like, oh no, yeah, whatever vision you seem like you're going to be able to get for this community, I'm going to work out how to make that best for me. Um, Wherever the money is going, sure, I'll back you in that. Why not?
Yeah, the way I envision at least how this relationship came about is that, there was a period of turmoil where this Pumpkin King was trying to like consolidate, the various smaller harvestkin gangs, and the Baron was sort of elevated as the headsman, so to speak, with his big great axe. To enact either diplomatically or violently the
Look,
needs.
if you're the king, you need some kind of like order and structure for this to not all fall apart. And I'm offering to be the person that makes a paper trail that keeps this place from just being fist fights between farmers going, I own this place, no, I own this place. No, don't worry, it's all sorted, I own both of them.
Yeah, perfect, exactly. Let's see here, what to go over here. Now, I didn't notice this. You have taken Magic Initiate as wizard as your feat. What's the thinking here? What do you want to do with this? What have you? I believe that gets you cantrips and a spell. What have you selected?
So I got a couple of things here. The big thing I wanted on here is Charm Person. I don't need a lot of magic to my hand, but I want the idea that the Baron doesn't have to come in throwing his weight around, being entirely like intimidation and violence first. You don't get to the sort of position where you are able to sneakily have things happen that people really should have thought a little harder about without being a little charming. And the Baron is not charming naturally.
Yeah, they have 8 charisma.
Yeah, so a little bit of magical undercurrent to go. I can put myself on the right foot to at least try and get you to willingly see things my way before I have to, be a little more direct about it.
Yeah, you don't want to get blood on your nice suit if you don't have to, because then you need to get a new suit.
The other one I have, I've got Mage Hand as a cantrip, which I just like the idea of being able to sweet talk someone while picking their pockets. I like the idea of being able to have a hand that's just doing something people aren't paying attention to in a scene, lending a bit to that being deceitful.
I believe we discussed in Discord your character like smokes a pipe. I
believe we discussed it being an ivory pipe.
Yes, an ivory pipe, and this came out of details of like Austin has referenced mammoths existing in New Leon, and that maybe being the one thing this character fears. At least currently as their main, phobia, because I didn't know this until recently. Mammoths are actually evolved to eat pumpkins, so he has taken what he fears to smoke a pipe. I bring this up because I'm wondering, as he's forging documents, is the mage hand holding the pipe so he can smoke it without needing to occupy himself?
Well, I think sometimes it's that way around. Sometimes he's using the smoke to create a distraction while the hand is putting the forged signature on the paperwork.
Yeah.
Maybe the pipe is big enough that occasionally his arms get a little tired and the mage hand has to give him a hand holding it up.
How does your character feel about these other factions that you're going to be dealing with? Are you like I guess a patriot for the harvestkin? Do you even really care about them beyond what they can get you? How do you feel about these other groups? Are they just like enemies to crush, and then like potentially something that can pad your bottom line for your allies, quote unquote?
I think that he very much sees them as a scattered community that is a good opportunity. Business opportunities rarely come around where there is so little cohesion and so little working together, so little unionization, as it were. I don't think he is opposed to to harvestkin as a community. I don't think he's got a problem with them. I think he is perfectly happy to work with others if it's beneficial to himself, with the thought in the back of the mind of, this alliance only lasts as long as it's good for me. Very much as much as I might say we're best friends, we're in this for the long run, he's happy to just lie through his teeth if he needs to about that. He feels a little disgust about harvestkin, but if he comes out on top, he can. I
should clarify: you are harvestkin.
No! I know.
Oh,
there's a little self-loathing going on.
So he doesn't like that most of his species are the little weirdo dirt boys that don't really care.
Yeah, no, to be clear, he knows he is from the stock of little dirt men. Uh-huh. He's not particularly a big fan. Look, he's not too proud of being a little dirt man. He will present himself as very proud about being a harvestkin. He will present his people as being good, worthy stock, while being a little bit like, I can only really be proud about harvestkin if I can
get something out of it.
If I can make myself a high enough stature individual that people see me and go, oh, that's what harvestkin are, at that point I can be proud of that.
That's interesting. So then my question would be, I don't know how, if you want to reveal your rival character, so to speak. But there are, vampires in this setting. And vampires generally are like, like the classically like depicted as like nobles. Is there like a jealousy there? Do you like resent them, or do you wish you could be one of them? But like by the nature of what you are, you physically cannot like elevate yourself to be one of them.
Oh yeah, 100%. I don't think it's a secret that the Baron is very the Baron will present himself as if he is part of a like long-lived lineage and he's been around long enough to see it all happen. And he knows that the second that any vampire turns around and goes like, what are you, like 3 months old? Like, he's just going to internally crumple. It is... The way I think that the Baron looks at it is he tries to tell himself, I have a lengthier generational lineage than these vampires, because, harvestkin are so relatively short-lived.
Right.
There's more generations of us. We go back generations and generations and generations more than the vampires do. So really, we're the ones with the sort of lineage to speak of. He's got his bullshit in his head about it.
Yeah, really, if anything, they're primitive Cro-Magnums, the vampires, because they haven't evolved enough.
By living so long, you don't have generations and generations to refine.
Mm-hmm. So then on that, because there's not only, like the pumpkin aspect of you, you're grown out of a dead body. We've established that this is a Goliath. How does, I guess, the Baron feel about that? Is that something he thinks about? Does he resent it? I know we explored with, Stranger in season 11. He didn't really think about it that much. And then when he found out who he was from, he was disgusted by that. Is the character thinking about it? Is that something you want to like examine? Because it sounds like maybe he might resent it.
I don't think the Baron thinks much about who the body is. I think he sees it as a means to an end, as something that does make him stronger than other harvestkin physically. that allows him to have the bravado that he has. I think somewhere in him is a bit of a knowledge that if he is born out of stock that is size and muscle, perhaps that is not the most. He maybe has some worries about it's going to turn out that his body was just as much of a country bumpkin as the people around him. But he chooses to tell himself, I am better than those around me because I have something sturdy inside at my core. I have something that means I am able to take what I need to.
Right. Clearly, because your body was so big, that means that they were well fed, i.e., they had a lot of money to be well fed. Of course, it makes perfect sense. Exactly.
You don't get a scrawny little runt that didn't eat at the high class fancy dinner tables.
Yeah, something that has been, I believe, mentioned for Stiora, Quinn's character, was that the discussion that Desiree, Austin's character, provided the bodies to make these create both of these characters, so to speak. Is that something that we're keeping for the Baron? How does the Baron feel about that? Is there because I imagine the Baron is not the type of character that wants to be indebted to someone, right? Because they want to hold the debt and the contract and the loan. They don't want to be under that.
Oh, 1,000% you fit the nail on the head. Does not want to feel indebted to anyone. That would be a lingering. I'm happy for that to be a thing for the character. It would be a lingering. I don't like that there's someone that I owe myself to. I like that a lot. That's a character detail. Because something that's, been coming up as we've discussed these characters is that there's a lot of conflicting motives, specifically relating to, the use of the people that you're going to be fighting, right? The body economy. What is it? Desiree wants people alive so she can lay eggs in them. Quinn's character wants to scrap them for parts generally. And harvestkin need full bodies to be able to plant seeds in and grow more of themselves, which is something I imagine your character, of course, will want to do because that builds your power base. Yeah.
How do you think that's going to play out? Have you given any thought to? Is your character going to be trying to take more than their fair share? In the hashing out of these bodies.
I think that they will be very open to a bit of wheeling and dealing. They're going to want to feel like they've come out on top. That doesn't necessarily mean, getting more than their fair share numerically of bodies, but I think, if you will want to get a few more bodies than I do, but I get some of the choicer ones, if I'm going to be using them to I need them. If I need them intact, we gotta find the good intact ones. As long as the Baron can feel like he has gotten something out of the deal that the others have not, that he can settle with.
So is it potentially going to be hey, I'll let you get this body, even though I'm the one up for it, but I need some of the equity in your house?
I mean, that's it. If you can offer me something more valuable than the full, complete, intact, strong body in front of me, as long as the number is going up, I don't care what form the equity is in.
This is gonna be where you're episode 1, you're gonna become fixated on some joke stock or something that you're gonna be collecting all season, and somehow at the end of it, it's gonna be oh no, we're in a shortage of appendixes. What are we gonna do? And the Baron's eyes gleam, having cornered the market on a useless vestigial organ.
Yeah, look, as soon as it turns out that, spleens are the key to saving the kingdom, who's going to be coming to me for spleens?
Yeah, perfect. I love it. So we've talked about how you feel about different factions and the other party members, at least a little bit. How does your character feel about, the greater world? Specifically, New Leon itself, which is, this hostile power where things have cooled down in recent years as they've rebuilt from the last all-out war that occurred. and the wider world itself. Because one of the things I've tried to set up in these discussions is that for the harvestkin, for example, export tons of like food, both crops and like livestock, in exchange for monetary things to be of use in actual bodies. How does your character feel about that? Do they want to expand it more? Do they want to like range into like New Leon for their grass to take over their lands or things like that? For example, there are giant monsters in New Leon. Those are some valuable bodies. And at the same time, paladins, sometimes they get zealous and they come and burn your fields.
I think the place to start with answering this is a discussion we were having about like where the Baron lives, because I talked about like almost envisioning like a panopticon style. What is the tallest place the Baron can live in to visibly be able to see the properties he owns and have the constant watchful eye. And you asked at that point, does the Baron live in the city or in the sort of harvest folk communities? And my answer at the time was, the Baron prefers to be a big fish in a small pond than the other way around. I envision that the Baron is a little, under the bluster and bravado, a little self-conscious that he might not be as good of a wheeler and dealer as he thinks he is. And part of being in the harvest folk community with the rest of his kind is, I feel like I can get away with the deals here. I can get what I need to over here. There is a lot of appeal to the big city, as it were, and I think that he is very like, he wants the ability to benefit from that proximity, from being a big enough player to be worth them dealing with, to want to take a slice of the pie if he can get away with it, without wanting to like instantly run off and go, this is where I want to be constantly. He knows that a lot of his tricks aren't going to work on people who've had more experience.
Yeah, and that's like something I'm not sure if this was discussed in the original setup episode, the session 0, or not, but like what is it? Vampires are often like the intermediary used with the outside world, right? Because they are the most physically, I guess, normal looking generally for like the inhabitants of Dynias. So it sounds to me like the Baron would love to be able to, go around them and get those deals with like, like Banyan Island. There's like conversations happening there, for resources back and forth due to the nature of that previous season. But it sounds like he's maybe a little bit scared to, in case he fails.
Yeah, 100%. He would like the lineup to be here's like 15 vampires and one Goliath pumpkin to come do deals with. But also, the second that you stand out and draw attention in a setting you are not familiar with, the last thing he wants to do is absolutely fall flat on his face, fucking up a deal in front of a bunch of vampires who are going to judge him.
Yeah, and I imagine there probably is also maybe like the knowledge that like, hey, your character, a lot of what they're doing is like forgery and then backing that up with physical violence, right? But if they're trying to cut a deal with the outside world and you enact horrific physical violence on one of your customers, that's not really that's a quick way to like lose your lifeblood.
Also, I don't want to be making claims on paperwork that the vampire stood next to me can look at and go, I was alive then, That's exactly. Not right. No, they know too much. I don't trust them.
Yeah, do we want to talk about your rival character, because we've danced around it, but
sure.
Okay, so I don't know if I've given a name to this character yet. In my head, I've just been calling them the accountant, and we'll see what happens when we meet them in person. I don't know if we need to describe them physically, but I guess the idea is to contrast your character as this like relatively young hot shot on the scene with a character that can just say, no, I've been, or frankly, I could just call him the Count and steal it 1-for-1 from Sesame Street, who has been here long enough to know, no, like, we know that you don't have these deals. I was there. I'm older than you.
Yeah.
She functionally couldn't have done this. To sort of untangle the bullshit while also, being this someone who's relatively powerful enough due to age to not be like physically intimidated by you. Do you think these two characters like are in the same social circles? Like, are they at the local cigar club smoking like the souls of ground up poor people or whatever?
I think there is just enough overlap that like it's always a little disappointing and surprising when they both are at the same gathering.
Uh-huh.
It happens enough that like it's not necessarily surprising, but it's one of those, oh God, I'm going to have to avoid. I'm just going to go stand over here behind this pillar and out the way of that one.
And they can see you because you're so
yeah,
large.
because I'm fucking
the pillar.
huge. Like I'm much larger than the pillar. Instantly, he's going to come say hello.
Yeah, so what I'm thinking then is because like culture is starting to like form in this society, right? And you obviously want to be at the forefront of that you're going to all these like, oh, this is the new like attempt at forming like high class cuisine in Dynias, and you're trying to go there, and now you're competing with this person for reservations, and you're trying to forge the reservations.
Yeah, 100%. Like, I'm forging a note that says, like, oh, sorry, I cannot make it to my reservation today. I have vampire flu. I'm like, oh, he told me to bring this along, but seeing as he's not coming along, I would love to take his table.
Mm-hmm. A little like Tom and Jerry going on here, and that will eventually, I imagine, get horrifically bloody.
Yeah. Oh no. The vampire already left a note telling us that if you left a note, it's fake. Oh no.
Yeah, that we will probably reach a point where this will start occurring, and then I'll have to have it like written down in a notepad document stating that yes, if this has already been done, do this, just so it doesn't feel like an asshole in the moment. But if your character is constantly forging notes saying, "Please cancel my reservations," yeah, he's gonna start having to preempt it.
You have to leave it with a third party to verify, yes, Dan already put a note there.
Yeah, I'll create like a locked PDF zip file and say, okay, Laura, please unlock the document and read what it says for verification. Are there any other details we want to go over here that I'm forgetting? We've talked about a lot. Now, what I find interesting, looking at your skills here, you have athletics, intimidation, perception. That makes sense. I feel like you should maybe have more than this. But your deception is -1. So how exactly are you forging these documents?
I have a skill to do with this somewhere on my sheet. I gotta find it.
I believe it's from your charlatan background.
Yeah, charlatan. Brackets, I forge documents. I have a second identity, including documentation, established acquaintances, disguises that allow me to assume personas. I can forge documents, including official papers and personal letters, as long as I've seen an example of the kind of document or the handwriting I'm trying to copy. So I may not be the best in the world at telling a lie straight to your face, but I let the paperwork do the lying for me.
Okay, yeah, I think we can let that slide here. Now we're talking about a second identity though, and disguises. I would maybe still suggest you take like a training in deception at some point, just because if you're going, I have a disguise, I'm not sure mechanically how we can do that in any other way.
I should, and I will be honest, I don't know why my deception is a -1. I thought I had done something about that at some point, but apparently not.
No problem. However, I'm intrigued by this idea of like a second identity outright, right? Because that's like part of this.
Yeah.
What is your alter ego, like your go-to, and what does that look like? Because you have a pretty interesting body. Are you wearing like silicone masks, like Halloween masks? What type of character does the Baron portray himself as? Is he going for like the exact opposite of himself, like so like an underground like mob boss slob or something? What do you think this portrays as?
I think that there is an alternate personality of sorts that is upstanding pillar of the community, would never do anything wrong. I think this is a personality that is used just sparingly enough that people go, oh yeah, oh no, I know them. They volunteer. I saw them volunteering down the soup kitchen. Oh, lovely fella, that one. Someone that you'd go, oh well, I guess if they're involved in the deal, then they wouldn't associate themselves with unsavory types. I don't know exactly who that is, and that's someone to discover as we play them, I think. But I like the idea of doing just enough philanthropy to be like, it's Jim that works down the local homeless shelter. Oh, lovely fella. Definitely not just the Baron in a bad wig.
Yeah, so there's a version of you that is occasionally going out and like I guess tending to the few orphans of people that like reproduce normally in this environment, or like going out and helping the young harvestkin. So then here's my question as I say this out loud and think about this. Is part of this like you're going to the orphanage, you're tending to these orphans, and then at some point after years of like the marinating them with this kind character,
yes!
This guy goes to them and says, I have a wonderful business opportunity for you.
Oh, a million percent. That is exactly it. It's looking after disadvantaged communities is a great way to get potential targets down the line.
Is this even more like an efficient payout for the Baron, or is he just in it for the love of the game, for like part of it? Is that maybe like a little like break in his mind here, where it's like, yeah, he wants like everything that comes with being like this rich finery, but he's so into the actual con more than like being rich that's the real deal.
I think the way he looks at it is like, look, if you're going out and helping at the local food bank, every now and then, the people going to the food bank aren't the people you're going to make a lot of money out of conning, but they're like, you help them get back on their feet. They're financially better off, friends that they end up making. It's like, oh yeah, no, Jim was really helpful when I was down on my luck. They were there, helping out at the food bank. I can vouch for them. It's less the people he's directly helping and more those are then people who will vouch for his reputation, and that he's gotta have a little spread out roots in the community.
I can't wait until I do like a Spider-Man symbiote arc where you're passing out at night and you're this persona is starting to take over and act on its own, and it's gonna start signing away some of your land deals to the needy as it takes on its own personality. Maybe I'll have to cut that out. just say I can't wait until, and then bleep the entire thing, but leave this part in.
Yeah. I might fuck around and sort the stats out so that deception's a little higher, because it should not be where it is. But I do like the idea that it's not just reliance on like I have a background ability that lets me do paperwork good, but that there is a long con aspect. There is an aspect of this is someone who is committed to the long game, and that is part of why the Baron is so like, look, if war is where we go, if peace is where we go, if more connections with the big city, if being more isolationist, wherever we go, I'm not going to show my hands too early. I'm in it for the long con. I am in it for the long-term gains of it all.
You're gonna be at the end of the game, like about to throw the ring into Mount Doom, and the devil's gonna come to you and go like, "What if you don't do that?" And you go, "What's your offer?"
Oh yes, yes. I could save all the poor starving children from dying, and then save the Harvest Folk community. I could take eternal life if you've got it. Go on, what you got for me?
That's another angle. Is there like a fear that harvestkin aren't the most longest living folk? I think in season 11, I said that no harvestkin has ever died of old age. They die due to violence. Potentially due to your station, you're getting into a position where that might not be like the end for you. Is that like a concern from your character of like, hey, I don't actually know how long I can physically live for, and I need to extend this?
Oh, 100% it's a concern. I'm going to make it canon now that that weird guy that gets blood transfusions of his son's blood?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I am 100% getting pumpkin fluid transfusions from younger pumpkin folk.
Oh, you're going out to the fucking the patches, and you're finding lone ones who have gone off too far and just smashing them for their guts. Oh god, I love it. Perfect.
That's the other benefit of the other personalities. Helping out in underserved communities makes it really easy to see which ones you could pick off if you needed to.
Great. I didn't know that this is where this character was going. I quite like it. That's given me at least like 5 other things I can do with this. I think maybe like a few details to go over here. What languages does your character speak? Common, of course, you start with. I think you get at least one more. I'm not sure if you've put any thought into this. Do you have any preference? You could always take Goliath because, you're grown out, or Giant because you're grown out of Goliath.
Well, I get Giant as a result of the Path of the Giant, which I need to put that in the languages section. We talked about languages before, and
did we?
I've put down Primordial and Sylvan, and I don't know why I would have put those down, but I thought we had a conversation about languages, and I'm now trying to remember what we talked through.
I believe the logic was like technically, harvestkin are still like a kind of plant creature to an extent, and I think Sylvan was like the closest to nature. That would be. So maybe we can work with that. There's probably things we can do there. I think Sylvan is also in some cases used for like Fae, which you might deal with some unpleasant Fae for all just what, actually the Semblings are living into this season 2. You're all gonna have to deal with them as well. Although I guess this party would just kill them and not deal with the time scale, so they wouldn't have to worry about them coming back.
But yeah, Giant definitely. I think Goliath would be nice. It would be nice to be able to use the language of the body.
Perfect. Okay. I think that all makes sense. Anything else you wanna bring up here, Laura?
No. I think that's about it. I'm excited for people to get to meet this person that in my head is just like, what if Winston Churchill was a pumpkin man and owned a lot of property? And I'm very excited for this piece of shit to start stumbling around hitting people who don't agree with him.
Perfect. I can't wait to see how this plays out. I think it's going to be quite interesting. I think there's going to be a lot of inter-party discussions and friction in a good way, because we're all friends here. We all know what we're doing. And I'm very excited to use all of your vices against you in increasingly outrageous. Oh, final detail that we have to ask about. The moon, the ever-present harvest moon up in the sky. What does your character think about it? Like, do they Stiora, Quinn's character, has like a very personal, deep connection to it as part of like her view of her character. How do you feel? How does the Baron feel about the ever-present moon in the sky?
So the way that I feel about this is that the Baron is a little like shameful of his thoughts about the moon. Like a little Catholic guilt going on. He would never admit to it, but he's, he might occasionally sneak to a worship service on a particular holiday. Not a regular, but someone who, worships out of obligation that they've never quite examined, It's I do it because it's what I do. I wouldn't say that like I'm going around evangelizing or anything.
Yeah, I think the way like in contrast to how in New Leon like the worship of the sun is like an actual organized religion. I don't think there is like a structure for it in Dyna's because of like the nature of these incredibly disparate groups. And how the moon might just be like, what if there was a boogeyman here to kill you at any moment? Is this maybe more like a supplication, like a private moment when you're like afraid for like, oh please moon, help me out here, that sort of thing?
I think there's a little of that, and I think there's a little. I like the idea of there being a mental metaphor of like. My wealth reaching a point where I could build a tower that could, stretch up into the heavens.
Uh-huh.
It's, it's the crypto bros going to the moon. The wealth's going to go to the moon.
Okay. Perfect. Yeah, I'm wondering how that'll play out because my thought would be that maybe as your character like becomes more like, self-assured in like what they're succeeding at, and becomes more than just a big fish in a small pond. Where does that like ego take them, especially with their relationship to, this divine body in the sky? Because my thoughts are that like if just the nature of like this kind of environment, if you start thinking that you're the biggest thing in the world, something's gonna throw a rock. Something's gonna throw a moon.
And I am excited to explore that space. I've deliberately put this person at. The Baron is starting this story at a point where he's teetering on a line and could go a couple of different ways, and I'm excited to see where his hubris takes him.
Yeah. And I think, honestly, like, just thinking about how you are in the party, out of the three of you, you are probably the most well-known person there because you're making yourself, like, a public figure, right? So let's say, like, if you're on a ladder of climbing, you're not, like, at the you're not running your faction, but you're pretty high up there, and, of course, greed means you always, the line go up, the line go higher.
Exactly. Look, there will always be someone with more wealth and power than the Baron, unless the Baron ran the entire planet, and even then there's probably more to conquer. Greed's always gonna have you stretching further than you can reach.
We're gonna, in like 3 episodes, you're gonna start selling moon rocks to people. I can't wait. Okay. I think we're good.
Look, they'll have official signatures that say they're definitely from the moon.
Perfect. I don't know if that's if that's blasphemy or if the moon would be like, yeah, game recognized game. That's kind of funny.
Oh, side note, Dan, story time. Have I ever told you about how I am the moon goddess?
Yes. How you've been harassed for years by someone telling you that you're like the reincarnation of an angel.
Yeah. I have my moon crystal that definitely legitimately is a piece of the moon, but it's also a perfectly spherical black and white crystal, sat on my desk. I'm ready to channel my moon powers into the season.
Perfect. You know what? We'll end on that. Laura's the moon goddess. She's going to become round and made of cheese, I guess.